The government would do well to heed the warnings that were given by retired workers and pensioners outside the gates of the Dáil yesterday, and they put forward this amendment at their peril. I would ask the government, even at this point, to withdraw that amendment and not to delay the passing of this bill into law. It was most eloquently put by one retired worker who said, "We may no longer be worker bees, but we are still bees with a sting." The government should be under no doubt about that. And if they are, just cast their minds back to the Grey Army that took to the streets on the issue of medical card entitlement and the rebellion that the government that did that faced. We are talking about almost 500,000 retired workers who are very, very angry that they have no say whatsoever over changes, cuts to their pension entitlements. And as Deputy Murphy has already said, we have seen a fairly relentless attack on pension rights generally, and these workers have seen very, very considerable attacks on their pensions. The defined benefit pensions schemes being closed down or moved to defined contribution schemes. Aviation workers, for example, have lost 22.5% of their monthly income without any serious consultation. Retired workers in RTE, in Coillte, in Bord na Móna have not seen any increase whatsoever on their pension for 10 and 14 years. Many of the schemes these workers are on, they do not qualify for the state contribution pension scheme at all, and therefore rely on a very modest occupational pension. Many have seen the link that previously existed between their wages when they were working and their pension entitlements severed. In case people out there think that this is not an issue for them because they are not pensioners, everybody who is working now has an interest, because they will be pensioners at some stage, and they will realise at that point how important it is to have a real say over their pensions. It is also worth saying, of course, that these workers paid for those pensions with their PSRI contributions, and they paid very considerably more than their employers did relative to what happens in most of Europe. Workers in this country pay pretty much the same level of PSRI contributions as the average worker in Europe, but employers in this country pay about half the amount. And when, as is often cited, the idea that people are getting older and that the pensions that we have to pay people is somehow a problem, which is quite an insulting idea to pensioners, and indeed an illogical idea when we should in fact celebrate the fact that people live longer. But we should also remember that if employers paid the same level of PSRI contributions as their European counterparts, we would have billions extra available to ensure decent pensions for all pensioners in this country. One of the other important points the pensioners and retired workers asked us to stress yesterday is how they believe that the failure of the government to allow them a say over what happens to their pensions is that they believe it breaches multiple parts of the EU Charter on fundamental rights. That it breaches the sections on the right to property, that it breaches the sections on the right to equality before the law for everybody, that it believes it breaches the sections on the right to the elderly, and it breaches the sections on the right to good administration. I won't go through all of the details, but that is undoubtedly true. And as this country is supposed to be signed up to the EU Charter on Fundamental Rights, if for no other reason, they should withdraw their amendment and allow this bill to pass into law, and give pensioners the right to simply have a say and to be consulted and have the avenue of the WRC available to them if there are any changes being proposed to their pensions. They also expressed quite considerable disappointment that the official trade union movement, which they built, has been so quiet on this issue, and I have to say that is disappointing. When you consider what happens in France when there's any attack on pensions, you see absolutely extraordinary revolts by workers and pensioners who understand instinctively that an attack on pensions and pensioners is in fact an attack on all workers and their rights. So, Minister, even at this late stage, I would ask you to withdraw your amendment, do not defer this bill, or you will incur the wrath of these pensioners, and be under no illusion, but that wrath will be very, very considerable for the three government parties, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens. These people literally built this country. When you look at the range of retired workers that were out there yesterday, public servants, nurses, wheelchair workers, board pneumonia workers, aviation workers, ESB workers, and many, many more I don't have time to enumerate. These are literally the people who physically built this country. So do not continue to ignore them and treat them with the disrespect they are now being treated with. Give them the right to have a say over their pensions, or you will feel the sting of these retired workers in the near future.
Thank you, Deputy.